present administration in the fight against corruption, the ministry achieved the following successes under its international asset recovery and management efforts. Asset sharing agreement between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Bureau of Jersey was signed in February 2024 for the return of £2,125,944 pounds, which was the proceed of corruption. This has been approved by the President to be utilized for continuation of work on the Abuja-Kano Road project. Glencore settlement. The Ministry, on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, on April 25, 2024, concluded negotiation of settlement agreement with Glencore International AG, wherein Glencore is expected to pay a sum of $50 million as penalty and compensation for certain activities in Nigeria. Development of proceeds of crime recovery management regulation 2024 by the ministry. The objective of this regulation is being developed with relevant agencies to ensure transparency, accountability, and standardization in the management of recovered assets in line with global practices. This document is being finalized for validation. Impact of litigation efforts on the economy. An effective justice system is measured not only by the number of cases which are successfully disposed of, but also, and more importantly, the strategic measures adopted to avoid litigation, using a combination of effective defense strategies to cases, arbitration and mediation, and diligent prosecution of appeal cases. The ministry succeeded in saving the country from huge debt liabilities. In the reporting period, a total of 625 cases instituted against the President, federal government, federal government and its agencies before the state, federal, and ECOWAS courts were served and responded to by the ministry. The ministry also received and treated 593 requests for legal advice and petitions from 2023 to date. In all, the ministry obtained 235 judgments from May 2023 to date. Federal government contract negotiation, monitoring, and implementation, and the FDN international treaties. You may please recall that this administration witnessed a landmark decision in an arbitration instituted against Nigeria by Process and Industrial Development Limited of UK, Development Limited, otherwise known as P&ID, wherein a United Kingdom commercial court set aside an arbitral award of over 11 billion United States dollars granted to against the federal government of Nigeria in the United Kingdom for breach of a gas supply and processing agreement. Further to this, I am happy to report that due to the concerted efforts of our legal team, Nigeria has been awarded interim cost of £20 million against P&ID. Useful lessons have been learned from this case, which had potential of wiping off our entire foreign reserves. As noted by the English court, the genesis of the case is traceable to a flawed contractual agreement that was tainted with fraud. This has led to the development of a federal contract administration system, operational organization and development of federal contract administration system, otherwise known as FCAS. The ministry developed the federal FCAS in response to the incidence of high-risk and litigious contracts entered into by MDAs, which often result in devastating judgments against the federal government of Nigeria. The beneficial features of FCAS include, but not limited to, 1. End-to-end process and procedures covering drafting, storing, approval, pre- and post-effect, and monitoring of complex contracts. 2. Drafting and developing suits of world-class standard form contracts for all major categories of projects, works and services contracted out by the federal government of Nigeria, its ministries and agencies. It also has a post-award monitoring component. Part of what we hope to achieve is competence development and certification of state council involved in drafting and negotiation of complex contracts. Contract vetted and approved. Within the same period of 1 year, the ministry has vetted and reviewed 485 contracts and PPP projects to ensure value for money, eliminate corruption, and ensure adequate protection of federal government investments. A total of 574 legal opinions were also proffered during the reporting period. Ease of doing business. The ministry streamlined the guidelines for the incorporation of companies limited by guarantee to stimulate economic growth. In this regard, a total of 1,432 approvals for the registration of companies limited by guarantee was issued by my office in the last 1 year. Implementation of international treaties. The ministry facilitated the enhanced and implementation of international treaties in the areas of human rights, security, trade, and investment. The ministry successfully presented the country's report of its human rights record for 4th cycle review of Nigeria at the United Nations Human Rights Council, Geneva, January this year. National policy on arbitration. The ministry coordinated the development of a draft national policy on arbitration, which currently is being finalized for presentation and approval of the Federal Executive Council. The national policy on arbitration seeks to promote arbitration and other dispute resolution mechanisms for fast-tracking resolution of economic disputes, as well as streamline arbitral proceedings in order to avoid the pitfalls prevalent in the country's unstructured process. The policy also aims to promote the implementation of Nigeria's treaty obligations under various international arbitration conventions and promote Nigeria as an arbitration hub in Africa. Now, I will deal with the parastatals. Federal Ministry of Justice has 8 parastatals, and I take them one after the other. The Regional Center for International Commercial Arbitration, Lagos. The center was set up as an international arbitration institution with the objective of promoting commercial dispute resolution based on UNCITRAL model. The accomplishment of the center are as follows. 1, promotion of arbitration. The center pursued the promotion of arbitration through participation, presentation, and intervention in various conferences like the United Nations Convention on International Trade Law Working Groups on Dispute Settlement. This has been in order to bring Nigeria as a signature in the commercial and investment hubs and to boost the economy. We also collaboration and posting of agreement. The center entered into agreements with the underlisted national, international arbitral institutions to foster training and capacity for Nigeria. Asian International Arbitration Center, Hong Kong International Arbitration Center, Asian Institute, to mention a few. Administration of arbitration. During the same period, the center recorded 16 new cases, out of which 10 are institutional, while 6 are ad hoc arbitration. Out of the total, that is both the new and the old institutional arbitrations, 16 were successfully resolved during the period. The center also rendered technical and advisory assistance to 33 national and international entities in business, administration, and commercial investment. We have the Nigerian Law Reform Commission. The Law Reform Commission has succeeded in the revision of volumes 1 to 14 of the laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004 to 2018. The Commission reviewed 635 federal acts, 12 of which have been repealed and reenacted. 47 acts consolidated, 23 acts were repealed, and have been deleted from the laws of the Federation of Nigeria. Currently, The Commission is collaborating with the Ministry in updating laws of the Federation up to 2024. Legal Aid Council. The Legal Aid Council of Nigeria was established to render free legal services to poor and indigent Nigerians. Provisions of the Legal Acts, provision of legal aid services to indigent Nigerians. The legal aid officers handled 5,081 number of cases from the month of May 2023 to April 2024. The cases included working clients and other relatives, referrals from magistrates, high courts, referrals from justice stakeholders such as National Human Rights Commission, Nigerian Correctional Service. They are also involved in resolution in ADI resolution. They provide legal services in defending terrorism cases. Police duty solicitor scheme. The police solicitor scheme is a component of the pretrial detention project designed to provide legal services and assistance to persons in conflict with the law at police formations in various states of the Federation. To oversee the scheme, the Police Duty Solicitor Advisory Committee was inaugurated in 5 states, Kano, Anambra, etc. Then there is also, let me also talk about one-stop shop for victims of motor accident. The Council's one-stop shop for victims of motor accident, otherwise known as OSCAR, facilitates comprehensive claims for victims of road traffic accident. The unit works with the National Insurance Commission, otherwise known as NICOM, and I am happy to report that this relationship has resulted in the payment of over 10 million to insurance claims of families of victims of road traffic. Then we also engage with various state governments coordinating pro bono services. We have the Council of Legal Education, which deals with the issue of call to bar of members call to bar of intending candidates. Within the period under review, the Council has embarked on massive infrastructural provision and facelift, inclusive of educational, residential, and medical facilities, strategic admission exercise to clear the outstanding backlog of graduates, enhancement of its curriculum to reflect emerging trends in the field of law, and adoption of interactive method, which has made the program at the law school more student-focused, in line with the law and vocational nature of the school, as well as best international practices. I'll just talk about human rights, and then I will hang up. I know I have just 1 minute to go. The National Human Rights Commission is an institution for the promotion, protection, and enforcement of human rights. The Commission also serves as an extrajudicial mechanism for respect and enjoyment of human rights. The Commission has successfully maintained A status accreditation by the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions for 5 times. The Commission developed the National Action Plan for promotion of protection of human rights in Nigeria, and this is made possible because the government does not interfere in the activities of human rights at all. We have the NIAS, that is the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. The last one, which is very crucial, is the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, otherwise known as NDLA. Improvement in its operational facilities, and I want to report that the improved seizure, arrest, and conviction. The agency in the past 11 months recorded seizure of approximately 959,917.30 kilograms of illicit drugs, arrested 13,798 suspected drug traffickers, and secured convictions in 3,247. Let me jump here and say that the most significant thing is that, with a view to enhancing the implementation of the all international drug policy commitments and in addressing the challenges of illicit cultivation and production of narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, as well as illicit trafficking of those substances, Nigeria pledges, and we are working it, to initiate an alternative development in coming months with a view to substituting high-yielding cash crops to the cultivation of cannabis in the country. The alternative development project will afford the illegal cannabis cultivators to substitute illicit cannabis with illicit crops like rice, cocoa, potato, tomato, and it will enable the desire and attitude to walk away from illegitimacy to legitimacy. It will also establish 3 standard comprehensive drug treatment centers dedicated to providing evidence-based rehabilitation and recovery services for individuals with substance use disorder within the next 24 months. The centers will be equipped with inpatient and outpatient facilities, medical and psychological support, vocational training, and resources to ensure a holistic approach to treatment. We also established 2 standard forensic laboratories in the country in the next 24 months. I know my time is up, but I also know that NAPTIP and parents will not forgive me if I don't say something about NAPTIP. Am I right? Thank you. In the period under review, NAPTIP secured 65 convictions comprising of 57 perpetrators of human trafficking and 8 offenders who were prosecuted under the Violence Against Persons (VAP) Act. It is useful to mention that the agency also secured 1,600 victims of human trafficking, out of which 340 victims were empowered with various skills acquisitions, with 90 victims enrolled in school for educational empowerment. In collaboration with the national agency and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, NAPTIP also facilitated the rescue and repatriation of 44 victims of human trafficking from various centers. Well, no, the time is up. Let me just say that I am grateful to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for affording us this opportunity and for the cooperation I have enjoyed also from the Vice President, my cabinet co-ministers, the Ministry of Justice under the able leadership of the Solicitor General, Permanent Secretary, the directors, and everybody, then the agencies. I want to thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, the Attorney General of the Federation. As he was speaking, I was pleading to approach the bench, but the Attorney General didn't yield to my pleas. Thank you very much, sir. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll move to the question and answer session. Now, the question will go this way. We'll take 2 questions relating to the health sector, and we'll take 2 questions relating to the justice sector. So, by the show of hands, in no particular order, the man on purple, 1. The lady at the extreme end, 2. This lady with the glasses, 3. And this gentleman here, 4. Mind you, 2 questions relating to the Ministry of Health and 2 questions relating to the Ministry of Justice. The first person, the man on purple at the end there. Please, your name and the media you report for.
Thank you very much. My question is for the Minister of Health. My name is Joshua Adams and I report for Radio Nigeria. My first question is on contraceptives, family planning. Sir, I'm aware that contraceptives is still dependent more on donor agencies. What is the ministry doing to ensure that they are produced, not only produced in Nigeria, but ensure that there are enough contraceptives for our women? And then secondly is on the issue of fake drugs. Some years ago, Dora Kony, of blessed memory, fought this issue to a standstill. But we are aware that just some 2-3 months ago, somebody did a research to say that some of the drugs that we are taking in Nigeria are not up to standard. What is the ministry doing through NAFDAC to ensure that drugs taken by Nigerians are not only of standard, but are also taking care of the issues in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 2 is over here. The lady standing there.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Eudora Ebigoni Kelly, the CEO of Atlantic TV, based here in Abuja. And my first question would go to the Minister of Justice. We do know that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a man that has done so much in the work of justice in this country. We know what he did when he was governor in Lagos State. We know the work that the former Vice President Osinbajo did in doing such a radical work of rehabilitating and doing so much in Lagos State. He did a fantastic job. He did a fantastic job. And we're also hoping that the President will also do the same thing on the national front. We know that the judiciary is the bedrock of civilization, of progress in the country. My question to you, Attorney General, is that we know that the ACJA was brought about during the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration. And we know that a lot of people are in prisons where they should not be because it's in breach. It's been in breach. A lot of awaiting trial. How do we decongest the prisons?
Thank you.
Where people are not just sent to prison just like that. What are your plans? Also, the whistleblowers seems to have stalled act. What do you intend to do to work with the NAS to ensure that the Whistleblowers Act is brought about? I mean, a new vigor is put into it.
Thank you very much.
We also small claims courts, family courts. What are we going to do? I would have loved to have seen the heads of some of the agencies of the ministers here to also answer questions, like the head of the EFCC. It would have been beautiful for him to be here so that he can tell us what he has achieved in 1 year.
Because
that's under your purview. To the Minister of Health, excuse me, please. For the Minister of Health, please.
Please, sorry, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Just one question for justice. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Number 3, please.
Yes. The Minister of Health, Professor Pate, my question to you is about diagnostics. Nigeria is in dire straits of a standard diagnostic lab. We have situations where we don't test are not done. They are taken to South Africa because Nigeria does not have the facility for this test. Please help us. We need an international diagnostic center in the country.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for her. Number 3, please. Thank you. Please, when you get the microphone, go straight to your questions. The ministers are here. SN, please, this way. Let's go straight to the point to save our time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. My name is Rachel Abuja, and I report for the News Agency of Nigeria. Honorable Minister of Health, my first question should be, or I don't know if I'm adding to your list, how many girls have been vaccinated for HPV, and how many more we hope to vaccinate in the second phase? Now, my first question now will be the $300 million you mentioned earlier. Is it part of the Global Fund 955 million, the 7 cycles? That's one. Secondly, Nigeria since February has been suffering from what we call mysterious disease. And You just mentioned that the president added money to NCDC. We'd like to know how much is that, and we would like to know if this disease now have a name.
All right.
My last question, Honorable Minister. I think Nigerians want to know about the Basic Health Provision Fund, the part where we have the medical, that's the ambulance emergency services. Tell us what's happening around there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the final question. This is gentleman over here. Please, straight to the point, one question.
Thank you, MC. My name is Anayo Chukwagwo. I work with Tel Magazine. I have 1.5 questions each for the two ministers. The first one goes to Minister of Health. Honorable Minister, thank you for the much you have done. We have been with you even at the other side before you traveled. So you didn't tell us anything about the exodus of qualified health workers from Nigeria to the diaspora. What are you doing to replenish the stock as they are going and then also maintain the quality? Then finally on your side, you talked about malaria and how much you are doing to eliminate malaria. Senator Ned Nwoko, he told the media about his malaria elimination project. And then so far we are looking for a homegrown project. Has the ministry tried to liaise with Nwoko so that we can eliminate malaria? Because there is this understanding that the big pharmaceuticals, they don't want a solution to be found so that they can keep selling anti-malaria drugs to us. And then the last I heard about it, I think Nigeria was not encouraging that young man to push ahead with that project. And then giving you a background, would you consider getting what Ned Nwoko is doing from him to eliminate malaria for Nigeria? And finally, for the Minister of Justice, my question is just on human rights. And then coming from the private sector, we know you will do much to protect human rights. So the other one is those soldiers or those policemen who were murdered in Taraba. The soldiers who are alleged to have done the act have not been brought to justice. The Wadume, who was jailed for 7 years, has just been released. And we are thinking about the families of the policemen who were murdered. Would you say these policemen, they have got justice? Then finally, sir, you are talking about justice also at the national level and reconciliation. Nnamdi Kanu is still in jail, even after he has confirmed his willingness to work with the government to ensure peace in Southeast. So how come there's no solution that's been found for him, even after we know that the Soro case has been settled, we know that the Boho case has been settled. These are people who are in the same paradigm shift with Nnamdi Kanu. So why is his own being like that? And finally, sir.
It's okay, sir. Please, sir, for the sake of time, sir.
This is about journalists, so, and I have to say this. Please don't censure us, Mr. MC. So, Mr. Minister, sir, in this 1 year, 3 journalists have been abducted unceremoniously by officers of this government. The latest one being Madu Honora is presently being held. Okay, okay. So what we are saying is, why are journalists being hounded from pillar to post? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Before the honorable ministers would commence answering this question, permit me to recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa. Please a round of applause for him. Thank you for coming. Honorable Minister of Health, you may wish to respond to the question.
I think there are several questions that are interrelated, so I'll try to address them comprehensively. First, when the President launched his health sector renewal investment initiative, he also oversaw a compact between federal government, states, and development partners. All states signed and 17 development signed to co-finance this program. In 2024, despite a tight fiscal situation, he increased the domestic allocation, and the Minister of Budget is here, for health domestically, so that for the first time, in fact, the resources domestically from the federal government are going up, and our states need to increase their own allocation to complement what the federal government is doing. Our development partners are on that journey with us until when we're able to sustain the resources to cover for all the health needs of our people, including for family planning, reproductive health, maternal, newborn, and child health. So since then, we have signed and we've seen line of sight to resources. Rachel mentioned the $932 million Global Fund grant, which is for 3 years. That's 932. $200 million from Buffett Foundation, $160 million that Gavi has announced it will provide in grant financing for the primary healthcare system to support routine immunization, $60 million from Gates that is under discussion at the moment, and the MOU with Afrexim Bank for the private sector for $1 billion. This is not pie in the sky. This is real, in addition to all the additional lines that in fact have been mobilized, which gives just testimony to the confidence, the trust around Mr. President's leadership and the agenda that he has laid for the country, including what we are doing for health. So for family planning commodities, in fact, a large part of what we've been able to mobilize will make sure that no woman, the unmet need for contraception is reduced, because that is key to allow women to control their reproduction when they need it. They have the right to choose and to control over their body, as well as provide quality reproductive health services. And the BHCPF, the resources that I mentioned to revitalize primary health care, is to take care of pregnant women and postpartum when they deliver, to also have the services that they need. Beyond that, I'm sure you'll hear what the Ministry of Women Affairs is doing, which is also from the adolescent girl, and generally the condition of women, which is all interrelated. The Ministry of Education in terms of enlightening, educating our girls to be able to really choose and understand and be empowered economically, but also in terms of their health and well-being. So it's a very multifaceted approach that we need to harness this demographic potential that Nigeria has, which is key to the future, the prosperity that this country should have. So that's on that. And the production of family planning is in fact something that the Presidential Initiative on Value Chain is working on, so that we begin to produce some of those alongside other commodities that are needed in Nigeria. That work is underway. We are just starting, and we are trying to attract folks who can produce, even if it's to package them in Nigeria. The question that I would also like to flag is that the insurance side, so on the supply side, we talk about infrastructure, equipment, human resources, but we also need to make the healthcare affordable to Nigerians. So expanding health insurance, repositioning health insurance is key part of that agenda that Mr. President has directed for everyone. And there are reforms that are underway about to be finalized, including for retirees, civil servants, and others, so that Nigerians begin to afford the healthcare service. Imagine if we can get 50 million Nigerians have health insurance. It will really change the dynamic in the sector. For 25 years, we only have 17 million Nigerians covered. So this government inherited, let's say, 25-year work undone, and now trying to ramp up in that direction. That will put the picture all together on the supply side, but also on the demand side. I think there's a question on fake drugs. Now, for the questioner for fake drugs, I will say that when you look at NAFDAC's own scorecard for this year, for the first quarter, NAFDAC exceeded all the targets that were set for the various aspects of their regulatory function. A few months ago, I visited Kano, where we were able to, in collaboration with the Kano state government and other security entities, close the open markets for where drugs were just being sold anyhow in terms of the markets, to move them to the coordinated wholesale warehouse in Kano. That has begun to streamline the supply chain We're working with the private sector as well to streamline the supply chain for pharmaceuticals. And there are other major open drug markets that we are going to address in terms of closing them so that they use the coordinated warehouse. There's one in Anambra, an installment at the state level between one in Oba and one in Ogbunife. We're trying to sort out, and the state government has weighed in so that we actually have clarity and let one of those open markets, one of those coordinated wholesale centers be functional so that the open markets get closed. So we're working hard on that to reduce fake drugs. But the private sector and Nigerians themselves have a responsibility not to collude with those who are killing our people by bringing them. All in all, the prevalence of fake drugs, according to NAFDAC, is now down to almost 10% actually. And that is not good enough. But if you compare to where it was in the past, it was much higher proportion. But we're working to reduce it by streamlining the supply chain. And I mentioned the market shaping to bring the demand to our local manufacturers with NAFDAC, an effective regulator, and the Pharmaceutical Council. Human resource for health is an important question that I would like to answer. Yes, there is exodus, but believe you me, in the last 6 to 7 months, we've seen an indication of experts, well-trained Nigerians who are trying to make their way back home. In fact, today I'm speaking to Dr. Julius Oni, who is coming back from the US, and there's several of them. And at the same time, some of our young folks are actually going abroad to train themselves. We've granted settlements of needs for many that are going for residency, and we will do that for everyone who has gotten a residency slot abroad, whether they're trained externally or trained here, because we expect them to get skills and come back home to serve. At the end of the day, we have to utilize the resources that we have. But I mentioned that we've expanded the training from 28,000 slots to 64,000. This is the training's quota. For the first time, this is something that should have been done decades ago. So we're playing catch up. It takes many years before the training produces the health workers, but we are on that path. I think we should give Mr. President really the credit for boldly taking this on and having education, health ministers, and hope that the states will join us in that direction. I will say that on the diagnostic labs that was mentioned, there are 10 health infrastructure groundbreaking that will take place. 8 of them are going to be done, in fact, in the next 1 to 2 weeks, if you don't mind, because it's important that Nigerians know that when the President said he will renew the health sector, that is what we've been working on. And there is, through NSIA, groundbreaking for the radiology, clinical pathology, medical and radiation oncology in Kaduna, the Southeast Medical Center, Medical Diagnostic Center Complex in Enugu, the Usman Danfodi Diagnostic and Intervention Radiology, University College Hospital, which will have diagnostic and intervention radiology, in the South-South Radiology and Clinical Pathology, in the South-South also Federal Medical Center at Asaba will have radiology and clinical pathology. In the Northeast, the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital will have a radiology and clinical pathology, and the site identified, and the groundbreaking will take place. In the North Central, there is a complex in Ilorin for radiology and clinical pathology, Youth for radiology and clinical pathology, and Federal Medical Center Nguru, radiology and clinical pathology. It's not planned anymore. The sites have been identified, the contractors have been identified, contract signed, groundbreaking will take place, and I think I will urge Nigeria just to watch that. And these are things that will be done. In addition to producing the test kits, I mentioned Codex in Lagos that has started producing in December. We have 2, one in Kaduna and one likely to come to Abuja, to produce molecular diagnostic test kits so that we produce them here as well. Nigerians have to begin to respect and also appreciate what we have on the ground. Folks go abroad for things that they could get here. There's a whole litany of very complicated procedures done here by Nigerians in Nigeria, in our teaching tertiary facilities that people don't know, and they go and get suboptimal care somewhere else. So by fixing the affordability through insurance and expanding the supply side, we believe that the transformation that Mr. President promised Nigerians will take place. HPV vaccine, 4.95 million girls between 9 and 14 were vaccinated in 15 states in the first phase. that is 80% of those eligible children. It's among the highest in the world. And when the Gavi CEO visited, Mr. President, they complimented Nigeria for this remarkable achievement. The second phase, that is aiming about 6 million girls, will start on May 27th. That's the second phase, to make sure that our children in the future do not face the risk of this virus, which can cause cervical cancer. In addition to other efforts to improve the screening for cancers, whether cervical cancer, whether breast cancers, and with the NICRAD as an institution, Institute for Cancer Research, and Roche, and many other diagnostics, and the Ministry's own cancer program, which will be relocated to NICRAD. We are expanding the screening, but also the diagnosis, including specifying what type of cancers, so that the treatments can be better targeted. And the mysterious disease, it has been investigated, and DG NCDC is here. He can provide you with the information. It's likely non-infectious. You see, there are diseases that are exposure, whether from mining or from pesticide, that cause illnesses from the environment in which people live. But the investigation by the epidemiologists has been really advanced significantly, and interventions are multifaceted, but at the hands of the states, but also with the support of the NCDC. And really thank the DG for deploying within a very short time to Sokoto to look at it. So when you say mysterious disease, it's really not mysterious disease until it's diagnosed. And I think they've understood that it's not an infectious disease. There are other surveillance activities which we're doing to ensure that the health of Nigerians and the Nigerians' health security is protected using a One Health approach. So we have a committee with agriculture, environment, water resources, and ourselves, the One Health Steering Committee, that we interact to look at threats from the animal sector so that they don't get into the human sector as well. I think the journey has just started. We're just beginning this journey under the leadership of the President. I really urge all of us as Nigerians to join hands and move forward to transform our healthcare system, and for us to imbibe the behaviors that will foster better health in terms of the lifestyles and other things that are necessary, and for states to complement the federal government and our development partners to move in the direction of the sector-wide approach which Mr. President has approved. So thank you very much, and I appreciated every one of my colleagues as well who have been here to support us. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Justice, Attorney General of the Federation, you may please wish to come up for your questions, sir. Thank you, sir. Please, a round of applause for the Honorable Minister of Justice.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity given to me to make some clarifications. In respect of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, I think Lady Dora asked a question along that line. I will just explain that efforts are ongoing. You see, when I first came, the first assignment I had was to engage the governors under the platform of Nigerian Governors Forum to address them. And one of the issues I raised or discussed with them was the issue of the amendment to the Constitution, which downgraded correctional centers, brought correctional centers to the state level. That is, it's a shared responsibility between the federal and the state. So it is up to the state governors or governments to now arrange to ensure that correctional centers are created and maintained. Then in respect of the people in correctional centers, efforts are on to ensure that they have been doing this, regular visits to the prison. But now that the issue of correctional centers is now a shared responsibility between the federal government and the states, you will agree with me that the states have, I would say, more to do than even the federal. But that is not to dodge the responsibility of trying to address the issue of prison discongestion. Then the issue of whistleblowers, it is on. You see, there are so many things out there that are not in here. What I mean is some rumors everywhere. So person has said this. There are so many things that we consider. If you say you are a whistleblower, you must be able to tell us that you are not leveraging on insider information or action that has already been taken. You are not blowing any whistle if it is in relation to what you already have or what we have been addressing. But that does not mean that in genuine situations, whistleblowers will not be accommodated. Then, you know, even, okay, the issue of these soldiers that you mentioned, efforts are on. You know, it is not, investigation is the most difficult thing to do anywhere in the world. I assure you that it may be slow, but it is sure we will get there. Then somebody asked something about Kanu and Showore. They are not the same. Up till now, if I see Showore, I don't know him. If I see Nnamdi Kanu, I don't know him. But I called for the files of the two people. They are not the same. When I felt, well, this one should go, I had no hesitation. It didn't give me any difficulty, but I have a difficulty in respect of the other one. And he's been held under the rules and laws of the nation. And I know that it's now in court. Let's wait for the decision of the court. Then, in respect of the arrest, you say, of journalists, I don't like the coloration. We are the same. We are together. We don't distinguish whether somebody is journalist or not journalist. What we look at is the offense or the allegation. And it doesn't mean that you have been convicted or found guilty or culpable of the allegation made against you. All that is required is, we have so thing against you, just profile explanation. And you go. And let me assure you that no one will be held outside the laws of the country. In respect of the various cases at the police station, I can't remember the number of cases that I have instructed should be terminated. And it got to such an extent that somebody came to me and said, oh, they are taking note of the number of people you have released, so you have to be careful. I said, in case you finish exhausting the notebook where you are putting this, I will supply you with more. So it's not about that. It is about, you look at the facts. If they don't justify, I let the person go. You don't rationalize justice. You dispense it. And the difference between the two is obvious. When you rationalize, done this, you can go. In respect generally about the administration of justice, the president has done well. I'm sorry, it's a pity that I'm on this side of the divide, but my reaction wouldn't have been any different if I were to be on the other side. One, increment in the retirement age of high court judges from 65 to 70. They say the older the wine or something, the better the taste. That is one. Number two, for the first time in the history of this country, we have the full complement of justices of Supreme Court, 21. If you make recommendations and the president doesn't approve, the matter stops there, stops on his table. And the third in the series is the increment in the revenue, the salaries and emolument. Everything has been done. What remains is little. From 2006, during, they deserve to be commended and not vilified. Generally, if you look at the budget allocation, at least to my own ministry, there have been a very commendable upsurge. I thank the government and I thank Minister of Budget. Thank you very much for this. Please, next year, you more than double it. Thank you.
Come on, put our hands together for the Attorney General of the Federation. Thank you very much. for doing justice to that. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, well, for the want of time, we'll move straight to the next set of presentations. And this will be led by the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Just after the pleasantries are shared, we'll take up that. Let's move out in an orderly fashion so that we can continue in this program, please. In an orderly fashion, then we take. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please, in an orderly fashion, at this time, we have the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Musa Dangewa, to give us his presentation. So please, just remain seated. Thank you very much. Please, we are still in session. We are still in session. Please, let's remain seated. Thank you very much. We are still in session. Please, reporters, we are still in session. Let's remain seated to receive the next presentation. Please, thank you very much for your cooperation. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister of Housing.
Thank you. The Honorable Ministers here present, Honorable Minister of Information, and the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, the Permanent Secretaries here present, distinguished invited guests, heads of agencies, ladies and gentlemen. This is the presentation of the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development under my leadership as the Minister and the Minister of State, His Excellency Abdullahi Tijani Gorzo, who is on an assignment currently in Yobe. I will start by saying good morning, Nigerians. It's my pleasure to share with you what we have been doing at the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development in driving the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR since we assumed office. First, permit me to give a background of the vision, mission, and strategy of the ministry. Our vision of the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development is to create an efficient housing market where all Nigerians have a right to secure, decent, and affordable home as a platform to achieve participation in economic development. That's our vision. The Ministry overall strategy action plan is centered around the three core pillars of the President Tinubu renewed hope agenda, which includes growing the economy, lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, and creating an enabling environment. Our target since we assumed office is to increase the availability of affordable housing units across different income segments by additional 50,000 housing per year. But currently this year we're giving a target of 20,000. Our target also is to initiate urban and slum upgrading programs aimed at improving living conditions, the infrastructure, and basic services in informal settlements, implement policies that promote inclusivity and address the needs of vulnerable, the low-income, the displaced, the marginalized groups, including persons with disabilities, women, and elderly. We also aim to facilitate partnerships between the public and private sectors to increase housing production and urban infrastructure development. And lastly, some of the achievements of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development since we come on board are as follows. The first is the renewed hope cities and estates. We have planned and commenced the actualization of the renewed hope cities and estates development program, which we quite well know that Mr. President launched early this year. He launched the renewed hope estate and cities program, and he did a groundbreaking on the same day of 3,112 housing units for a start. So under phase 1, we plan to deliver a total of 20,000 housing units across the Nigeria, with both budgetary allocation of the 20,000 housing units and 30,000 additional under the PPP, public-private partnerships. So the cities, the project are divided into cities and estates. We intend to have the cities, one in each geopolitical zone of the country, including FCT, where we'll have 1,000 housing units per site in one location in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country and FCT. That's the minimum. While the estates will have 500 housing units per site within the remaining 30 states. We have designed the renewed hope cities and estates as integrated living communities, targeting all income groups. They comprise 1-bedroom block of flats, 2-bedroom block of flats, and 3-bedroom block of flats and terraces, and 5-bedroom duplexes. On the other hand, we have specialized the renewed hope estates to cater for the low and medium income earners of the country. They comprise 1-, 2-, and 3-bedroom semi-detached bungalows. To enhance affordability and ease of offtake, we use organic designs where 1 bedroom can be expanded to 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms as the income of beneficiaries increase over time. Furthermore, the program aims to address social inequality by providing a broad range of affordable ownership options. This includes single-digit and up to 30-year mortgage loans to be provided by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, the rent-to-own options where beneficiaries can move into the house and pay towards home ownership in monthly, quarterly, or annual installments, and outright purchase for high-income earners or installmental payments. So government has approved a total of 126 billion from the combine of 2023 supplementary budget and 2024 budget for these projects. That includes 50 billion for the renewed hope estates under the supplementary budget, and 50 billion for the slum upgrade and urban renewal within the supplementary budget, and 26.5 billion under the 2024 budget. These projects have started with the supplementary budget of 2023 with the 50 billion that has been disbursed to us. Currently, we have collected up to 50% of that amount. We are awaiting the balance of the 50%. Contract has been awarded, contractors have been mobilized, sites have been gotten from the state governments at no cost, and our work has commenced fully on 13 sites currently, and groundbreaking and foundation laying are ongoing. So nationwide, we currently have 12 states for the estates, and then 3 cities for the cities. The estates that I've told you that we have taken 2 per each geopolitical zone of the country that include, and we have started groundbreaking as of this week. We have done groundbreaking for Katsina. We have done that of Yobe. Today we are doing Yobe. Tomorrow we are doing Gombe. And on Monday we are doing that of Sokoto. Abia, Nasarawa, Benue, Akwa Ibom, Delta, Oyo, and Osun states are the remaining 12 estates. The cities are three, as I said, include that of Abuja, which the President has done groundbreaking for 3,112 housing units. And Kano, we did it yesterday, comprising 500 bungalows, and Lagos, 1,500 housing units have started already on site. I've said earlier, the contractors have been mobilized and have commenced work to deliver the 3,500 housing units for the estates in the 13 states, and also the 1,500 in Lagos and the 3,112 in Abuja, totaling 8,112 housing units. These houses are already on ground and work is ongoing. If you look at it, job creation in this aspect, for every house you build, you are creating minimum of 25 jobs for the skilled and unskilled labor. We have created over 202,000 jobs currently for skilled and unskilled labor, and this will be sustained for the next 6 to 12 months. I've said earlier that cities in Abuja, this contractor have been mobilized and commenced work to deliver the housing unit. We also signed an MOU with reputable developers to develop 100,000 housing units nationwide. This is a public-private partnership we have signed with them. These are the same developers that have commenced the 3,112 housing units in Abuja. We are looking for land in the 6 cities where the other project will commence under the PPP, bringing a total of this 8,112. We have also made cross-subsidy a key part of our efforts to enhance affordability for low income earners to foster integrated living. What it means, all the cities that we are building, they are meant for the low and medium income earners, they are affordable houses. But any project where we are going to do a PPP, public-private partnership, these developers, they are going to go and raise their funding, and mostly they will even acquire their own land and build the houses. We insist that there has to be a cross-subsidy within those estates, where a certain percentage of those units has to be cross-subsidized and sold at affordable rates, even if it means by reducing the specifications, but they should be affordable in order for that city to have inclusivity. So under this concept, housing units built in renewed hope cities will be sold at commercial rate, while a substantial percentage will be sold at concessionary rates to low and medium income Nigerians who are members of the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress. The Renewed Hope Housing Program is designed to be a catalyst for economic growth. The construction and development of these new areas will generate employment opportunities, as I've said, stimulate local businesses, and attract investments. These housing units we plan to deliver under Phase 1 will create over 1.2 million direct and indirect construction jobs. This in addition to the value chain effects of purchase, supply of building materials, businesses around the construction sites, etc. We have also taken the other part of the 50 billion for the urban slum upgrade and the slum upgrading program and the urban renewal. Under Phase 1, for that, the ministry plans, we have taken 26 states nationwide. This includes 4 states per geopolitical zone of the country, including 2 in the FCT. The key services to be provided at the identified sites will be water supply, just a normal water supply for the vulnerables, boreholes and overhead tanks, solar street lights, rehabilitation of access roads, construction of drainages, waste management and sanitation services, amongst others. I've said earlier, contract of this same have already been awarded. Most of the sites have even been completed. They are now pursuing their last payment for the projects. From the ministry's approved budget of 2024, which is 26.5 billion naira. We're in the process of rolling out another batch of the renewed Hope Estates, comprising the 250 housing units in 6 additional states, totaling 1,500. So recently we have launched an online renewed Hope Estate and Cities online housing portal just last week, Monday, to ease the process of acquiring homes while building under the renewed Hope Cities and Estates program. The next one is the slum upgrade, which I've stated earlier. For the national housing program, which we have inherited, we found that since the inception of this administration of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and the renewed Hope housing program, we have taken pragmatic steps to fast-track the sale and occupation of the housing units across the country constructed and unsold under the national housing program of the last administration. We did advertisement for the expression of interest for the interested buyers with 4 windows of subscription to give room for all income segments of Nigerians. We have the outright purchase, those who have the money to purchase them outrightly. We have the mortgage options, who can get mortgage at single-digit interest rate for a long period to pay. We have the rent-to-own, we have installmental payments. So at the end of the expression of interest, we received a total of 8,925 expression of interest. This comprised the 1,294 outright purchase, 2,408 mortgage subscribers, 2,184 rent-to-own subscribers, and 3,039 for installmental payment, who will be given the chance to pay either 3 or 4 installments, depending on their capacity. Last month, we released the first batch of the offer letters of the new provisional allocation letters for the outright purchase and the installmental payment for successful applicants. We did that so that they pay outrightly, since they have confirmed they can pay outrightly, and take occupation of these estates. Because these estates have remained unoccupied, completed but unoccupied, and they are prone to vandalization in many of our sites. And now many of these subscribers have taken possession since the letters have been, and they are paying currently. For the mortgage and rent-to-own subscribers who have sent their applications or their own details to the mortgage bank, who will invite them and do affordability tests to determine their own affordability. There is another area of great interest, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu agenda for his compassionate consideration for the neglected persons and underprivileged groups to ensure that they are housed. In line with his renewed hope agenda to ensure that all Nigerians, including the low-income, vulnerable and underprivileged group, have access to decent and dignified accommodation, we are also creating the framework for the establishment of the National Social Housing Fund. This is because we believe that access to decent shelter is not only a necessity, but a fundamental human right as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, and all Nigerians across all income segments deserve a decent home to live and grow. This National Social Housing Fund, you believe that there are houses that the President intends to give them free to these categories of Nigerians. The sources of funding this National Social Housing Fund are many, to which you will agree with me that the gains from the removal of the subsidy, which the government will give us as a pension, there's a profit after tax from the fund administrators' investments, which will ask them to do some investments, even if it means going to National Assembly to amend the law. Contributions from corporate bodies and institutions as part of their corporate social responsibility is key. To be part of it, we have the public-private partnerships who would be ready to come and partner with us. We have international donors, which we have started engaging currently, and then apart from the government allocations. So the other way is that we plan to even institute a voluntary taxation of the privileged population of Nigerians. We are targeting like 20 million Nigerians to contribute at least 50,000 naira within 1 year, at the average of 4,000 to 5,000 naira monthly. I'm sure the whole of this hall, they can afford to contribute 50,000 naira when the time comes, at the average of just 4,000 to 5,000 monthly. Just to ensure that with 20 million Nigerians, we are going to generate 1 trillion naira. With that 1 trillion naira, we intend to build 100 housing units in 774 local governments across the country. At the cost of, let's say, 10 million, you'll have 774 billion. These are some of the things that currently we have engaged a consultant. They have completed the framework for the establishment of this National Social Housing Fund that will include engaging even the stakeholders, which is the Ministry of Finance, who will be the shareholders, the National Assembly, who will pass the law for that, and then it will be established. We intend to conclude this within this year because we are given that target. Then we have commenced the housing reform sector reforms to ensure that housing agencies under the supervision of the ministry, which is the Federal Mortgage of Nigeria and the Federal Housing Authority, including those that are under the Ministry of Finance, the Family Homes Funds. We want to ensure that these agencies are optimized to deliver on our target of providing affordable homes to Nigerians. We have already integrated the 4 task team, including the housing reform task team of expert stakeholders, including the housing development advocacy representatives, the agency representatives, the professional bodies, and academia, to provide a robust framework for reform of the housing sector, including through review of the relevant laws and facilitation of necessary legislative amendments. This includes the Land Use Act of 1978, the National Housing Fund 1992, Federal Mortgage of Nigeria Establishment Act 1993, the FHA Act of 1973, the PENCOM Act allow increased investment in housing and driving the adoption nationwide of the model mortgage foreclosure law by states. To lower, so the second task team we have established is that establishment of the building material manufacturing hubs. To lower the cost of building materials, we are also working to boost building material manufacturing in the country. Will ensure economic growth, create jobs, and reduce redundancy or dependency on imports. On this, we have integrated the building material manufacturing task team, comprising experts and representatives of relevant government agencies, academia. They will conduct a thorough assessment of the current state of the building manufacturing sector and produce a holistic strategic plan for reforming the sector for implementation. For the multi-agency delivery, we want to increase the stock of housing supply. We have integrated the multi-agency delivery team. The team will ensure that all housing agencies come together towards optimizing their strengths to deliver decent and affordable housing to Nigerians. The team comprises highly qualified and experienced professional experts in housing development, urban planning, infrastructure, finance, and project management. We are working to implement the much needed reforms also on land reforms, because we ensure that if you reform the goal of reforming the land reform is to empower Nigerians for the whole country to bring about sustainable socio-economic development and secure land tenure. We want to empower Nigerians for easy access to incontestable CFO. Because if all Nigerians have a CFO, even if it is in the informal sector, they can use that CFO to access funding, either mortgage funding or even investment funding. Promote world's experience or creation and ecosystems. The team will ensure that all the team, we have integrated this land reform task team comprising of the state governments, who are the major stakeholders, traditional rulers, relevant agency, professional bodies, academia, stakeholders, to ensure buy-in and exclusivity. With their recommendation, we will draft an executive bill and proceed to the National Assembly for the amendment of the Land Use Act 78 that has hindered the development of the housing sector. Part of this will also be the establishment of the National Land Commission to spell out the guidelines and the regulations for operationalizing the Land Use Act. By the time we have the National Land Commission, it's the agency that will now operationalize the Land Use Act that has become difficult to implement. These task teams that we have established, 4 of them, they have already presented their own preliminary reports to us. We have made amendments, and they will conclude their assignments within the next 3 weeks. The other area which of interest is that when we realize that we have to ensure that we promote PPP, public-private partnerships, and ensure that the government budget cannot be able to fund the housing sector. Because if you look at what the housing sector is currently, with a population of 220 million Nigerians that we are having, it's going to be difficult for government to fund the entire housing deficit that we are having. So there is an establishment of MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated Real Estate Fund. We are collaborating with the Minister of Finance, who is coordinating Minister of Economy, to ensure that all financial institutions in government were identified, including the housing institutions, and so as to bring in economic growth, job creation, and lifting million Nigerians out of poverty. It's under the Ministry of Finance and coordinating Minister of Economy, with Ministry of Finance Incorporated, Infraco, National Sovereign Fund, even the Pension Commission, Family Huntsman, and other agencies, all financial institutions have said, we intend to raise a minimum of 2 trillion naira from this collaboration to build affordable and prime houses nationwide. The reason we say prime and affordable is that that's why the cross-subsidy will come. Because when you raise funding, you have to ensure that you raise it through commercial rates. And for them to recover their money, that's why we have to ask them to do the cross-subsidy. The Federal Executive Council has given a note to the Federal Minister of Finance and Coordinator Minister of Economy to conclude the framework for final approval. So we are committed to implementing all these reforms and initiatives to change the landscape of housing sector for good and deliver the renewed hope agenda for housing and urban development nationwide. Thank you very much for the once of time. I'm sure more questions will come. Thank you very much.